stepped up and stepped in. Here he comes. That's the ones that don't need a gun.
Willis doesn't need a gun.
All right. Well, in a bar fight, I want him to come save me.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Let's call the meeting to order, please. Today is Tuesday, it's April 14th. We're here at the Civic Center for our regular April meeting. If you would, we'll stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sure did.
Call the roll, please.
Miss Blackburn?
Here.
Mr. Mullen?
Here.
Mayor Kathy?
Here.
Miss Castro?
Here.
Mr. Tinley? Here.
Thank you. Have a couple comments. The first, on a sad note, many of you probably know Jim Noss and his family. Jim has been a contractor here in Mexico Beach for a number of years, and sadly and suddenly passed away a few weeks ago at his home. And I just want to mention that so that those of you who might not have heard or might not know that we all keep that family in our prayers. Jim had, like I say, had long ties to our community, and he will be missed. And on another note, I want to say to the, I don't know their name. I don't know that they have a name, but we'll call them the Tennessee Chuck crew, for lack of not knowing their official name. I think everyone can associate with that the nice job they did down at our canal park for their contribution of their efforts, and they cleaned that place up, and it looks much better. So I want to recognize them for their hard work, and they're wanting to do something to make Mexico Beach look a little better. So with that said, Ms. Blackburn?
No, sir.
Nothing.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
It's good to see a lot of people here, though.
Moving on to the consent agenda, we have a series of, citizen comments. Can't forget citizens' comments. Are there any citizens' comments? Yes, ma'am.
Candace Burgess, 417 California. Mary, this is very good. I like this, but I just feel that we're going to have a real leave no trace ordinance in order for it to be enforceable. But I think this is a great.
That's an agenda item.
Yeah,
It would
but
be
I just wanted to make
appropriate
a
to
comment
discuss.
about that.
That's
so.
fine.
Okay.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Others? Yes, ma'am.
Lynn Tuttle, and we live at 2501B Highway 98. What is going on the street that is a sand pile there? Is that going to be 24th Street? Is there going to be a house built there? Nothing's happened since September when we got here.
Yes, ma'am, that's, there are two lots there, and the
I don't
sand
know.
pile represents sort of a footprint of where that house would go. It's not, it's just, the street is to the west of it that will be put in there.
So the sand pile is where the house will be, a house will be.
And then there's another lot, water side of that, or Gulf side of that.
That
There's
is
two lots on that street.
for sale or has been
They
sold?
they
or-
have been sold, and there's plans to put homes there.
Okay, so the street hasn't been
The street-
constructed?
No, ma'am, no, ma'am. The street has not been installed.
Okay.
Does that help?
A little, thank you.
Okay. All right, other citizens' comments? Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda, you see we have some minutes. Chair will entertain a motion for acceptance of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, second. Are there any corrections or additions? Is there any opposition to the consent agenda? Motion carries 5-0. Excuse me. All right, under scheduled appearances, Chief Norris, turn that over to you.
Yes, sir.
As we have in the past, the council always likes to, and the citizens always like to be introduced to the new officers of the department. So we have 2 officers we've added. So if you would, Officer Starnes. This is Ken Starnes. He is originally from Gulf County. He's a Mexico Beach resident. A little over 8.5 years law enforcement experience, retired Air Force, and we're glad to have him on the force. James Jim GM40 Jr. This GM40, doesn't come up. As you heard, this is James, or GM40 Jr. This is his lovely wife. Met Officer GM40 now on a search warrant that we conducted together with Air Force operations. Currently, he is a DOD sergeant stationed at Tyndall, and he is on reserves with us and has retired from the United States Army. Cool. And he's an MP in human intelligence. At his time, was embedded with Special Forces, so one of the ones that's been there and done that, this is him, and this is his wife that supported him all through it, so welcome aboard. Okay. Delphi, Wood, Captain. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Callaway Supervisor for the Bay County Sheriff's Office. And this is, as everyone should know, this is my Assistant Chief, Captain Hightower. He's officially not here, but he's here. He's still on workers' comp, recovering from his flight through the air. And the reason that I've called these gentlemen up is we have a special award tonight that you don't have the opportunity to ever receive or be honored with receiving. So with that being said, I'll ask Sergeant Kelly to come forward. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would, just give me just a couple of minutes. Tonight, I have the honor of, as far as I know, the first time ever for an officer in Mexico Beach, Florida to be awarded this award. I received an email from one of the lieutenant's deputies that was working in Callaway. I'll read the citation now. It is with great honor and privilege, the Mexico Beach Police Department and I award you Sergeant Anthony Kelly the Police Medal of Valor for your meritorious and valorous actions on March 9, 2015 in the city of Callaway, Bay County, Florida. Your Your dedication to duty and professionalism were reflected in the coordinated and combined efforts of the Bay County Sheriff's Office, Callaway Fire Department, and Springfield Fire Department to safely and effectively evacuate all residents of the Avalon Junior Apartments complex that was engulfed in fire and smoke at 235 North Central Parkway, Callaway, Florida. Medal of Valor citation. Sergeant Kelly completed a 12-hour shift at the Mexico Beach Police Department, and on his way home saw 2 Bay County Sheriff's Office patrol cars activate their emergency lights and sirens. Instead of continuing home, he selflessly responded to assist his fellow brothers in law enforcement. Without hesitation and with total disregard for his own safety, he and the deputies entered the fire and smoke engulfed complex and assisted in the evacuation of all the residents, ultimately saving all from injuries or death. He cleared the entire top floor of the complex, which contained the most smoke and fire, including waking sleeping residents who were unaware of the fire. After the evacuation was completed, he assisted the fire departments and ensured Deputy Manish K. Hanna received oxygen for smoke inhalation. Sergeant Kelly's dedication to duty was recounted to me by Deputy Hanna and the Callaway Fire Department. Your meritorious and valorous actions are commended and reflect great credit upon yourself, the citizens of Mexico Beach, City of Mexico Beach, Bay County, Florida, and the Mexico Beach Police Department. You are hereby awarded the Mexico Beach Police Department Police Medal of Valor for your actions on March 9, 2015, signed by me, presented today. Thank you all very much. And this is actually just a paraphrase certificate that goes with the citation. So he has 2 beautiful awards to hang on his wall. And Sergeant Kelly didn't have to go home he didn't have to go there and do this. I didn't find out about it from him until after I received the email, and then I called him in and asked him what he done. He said, "Oh, I don't remember much to it." So he may not have thought there was much to it, but the deputy took his time to send an email and add to the email exactly what Sergeant Kelly performed, and I'm glad he's on board with us. As you can see, he's got several ribbons on his chest already, so he has been there and has experience, and thank you and your wife for coming and being recipient of the award. Thank you very much.
Good job. Don't often see that many of us in uniform back there. Thank you for all you do, all of you. All right. Mr. Elizabeth Ford.
It's a little bit of a tough act to follow. All we have is an update on some engineering projects and some construction projects that we're working on currently. But I'm Elizabeth Moore. I'm with Preble Rish Engineering to give y'all an update on those projects. Our alternate water source project, as I talked about last time, we are now looking at some other water sources. The original water source we'd identified for the grant is not available, and so we're still working on finding some additional water sources, but we have identified some of those. We're making progress on that report now. The canal improvements project, we actually just submitted another grant on behalf of the city for the Florida Boater Improvement Grant Program through Fish and Wildlife in the amount of $750,000. That's actually the resolution that's a little bit further on your agenda tonight. And all that resolution is saying is that basically you're in support of the application. And there is no match associated with that grant. Additionally, the intent of this is that we've submitted legislative appropriations, and we've submitted funds through this Florida Boater Improvement Grant Program. Should these other grant alternatives not be available, at that point, I think we'll probably recommend that we reevaluate our design, work with the funds that we have, and see what we can do at that point. But we would recommend that we wait until we hear back from the Florida Boater Improvement Grant Program and the legislative appropriations that we've applied for. In addition on that, we did receive word from Fish and Wildlife that they were able to obtain an additional $140,000 towards the canal improvements project. There was another project that was not eligible for funding, so now our total grant amount through the NERDA funding is $1.76 million. So we're still working to grow that so that we can provide the canal improvements that the city had asked us to design. The Northwest Florida Stormwater Grant, at the last meeting, you approved a contingent award if we were able to get the project in budget. We were able to get the project in budget by reducing the size of the nutrient separating baffle box, but when we submitted that to Northwest Florida Water Management District, they weren't as excited about that. And even though we'd asked previously if they could find some funding for that project, they said they could not. Whenever we talked to them about the modifications we were proposing, they went back, and we just got word today that they were able to find the additional money to fund the project with the larger baffle box. So we'll be able to get the final paperwork for that issued hopefully this week and get that project underway. The Stormwater Master Plan, with the assistance of Ms. Batista, she's been doing a great job. A lot of you have probably seen her out there. She's gotten very acquainted with the snakes of Mexico Beach. And she's actually gotten really acquainted with their stormwater in the area as well. And we've submitted a draft of the Stormwater Master Plan to the city today. It's not final, but we did want to see what progress we've been able to make on this so far. I've been extremely impressed with her evaluation of the city stormwater. And we should have a final master plan ready for y'all at the next meeting. City Hall at Municipal Park, as we talked about last time, we submitted the permits for the design for the new City Hall at Municipal Park. The design is nearly complete, and we talked to DEP this week. We anticipate getting the the permits back from them, their approval next week, and then we'll have the design finalized at that time. The last project current is the 24th Street paving project. We've completed the surveying. The design is underway. We've also submitted a draft of the construction plans for that project to the city as well. Again, those are not complete, but they're getting there. They're pretty close. Those are, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Those are our existing projects that are under design. We've also been very busy. We've been applying for grants for you guys for a bunch of different improvements. One of which is the 15th Street sidewalks, is to continue the sidewalk that the city has already started. We submitted an application to TAP, Transportation Alternatives Program, and there's also a resolution on your agenda tonight in support of that project as well. And there is no match required for that. And if that grant is approved, and I'm really unsure of if it will be approved, but should it be approved, it will take the sidewalks from where they end now on 15th Street over to 386.
What does TAP stand for?
Transportation Alternatives
Oh,
Program,
okay.
and that's through the DOT, Department of Transportation. Also, in previous meetings, there had been discussion of possibly trying to pave the Palms, under the Palms walking trail. We had submitted one grant application for that previously through FERDAP. We have submitted another, or we're in the process of looking into another grant through DEP, it's Recreational Trails Program. That one, we will need a resolution for that. It's not on your agenda tonight. You may want to consider having a special meeting for that. The application is due on the 30th. So if y'all are in support of that, that one does require a 20% match, but we anticipate the cost of the project, the total cost of the project to be less than $50,000. But that's something that we're working on right now as well. In addition, for that, again, if this is something that the city wishes to move forward with, one thing that will help the project is if we have minutes from a community a community organization, if there's some minutes from a meeting where the project is discussed. And I believe there was discussion also of a beautification committee or something similar, if we have minutes from a meeting like that. It can't be just a city commission meeting, but if it's some sort of community organization that's talked about the need for, the desire for paving the walking trail, then that's something that we could use towards the grant application. Again, I mentioned the FERDAP grant where we had submitted a grant for the improvements at the Palms, under the Palms Park, and also at Municipal Park for recreational equipment. We still don't know what the outcome of that is. There were a lot of projects that scored higher than the Mexico Beach than the one submitted for Mexico Beach, just by the nature of what was submitted, not so much the application package itself. But if they proceed like they did last year, they funded all of the projects under 50,000, which that project was under 50,000. So we are hoping to hear something about that in May. We continue to work on finding funding sources for your wastewater rehabilitation in order to help with your inflow and infiltration. And then we're also tracking down potential grant sources through legislative appropriations. Last on the list is Preble Rish is proud to announce that we have now, or are going to, open a new Mexico Beach office. It's going to be located in the villas in one of the commercial offices downstairs. We intend to have a open house next week on Thursday from about 4:30 to 6:30, but we'll put send out a little bit more of a final invitation to that. But we're pleased to continue our work for the city, and we felt like an office in Mexico Beach would better serve the city. So.
Question?
I have a couple questions. The Florida Boater Improvement Grant, that can be used for anything that has to do with the canal?
I'm hesitant to say anything that can be used for the canal. They definitely have some restrictions. One of them is, I know they will not allow to have a fish cleaning station. There's some other restrictions on it, but largely, yes, they can fund the majority of what we're proposing to do for the canal improvements.
Okay. And the Stormwater Master Plan, is that the draft? Is that something that can be emailed? I don't know, is that, because I know it can be?
I'm hesitant to send it out to the public for everyone to digest, but
yeah.
I'm happy to let the city review it at this point.
Well, I would like a copy, but I'm wondering if maybe we could put that on the website. No?
I'd rather
'Cause
not
it's
until
just
we
a
get a
draft.
final.
That's
Yes.
fine, that's
Yeah.
fine. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I just had a couple. So the project from the municipal park, that's the site plan for
Yes.
the building,
Yes.
not design for the park or anything, just site plan for the building. 24th Street paving, we're going to put that out for bid.
Let's see, well, the only potential issue with that is that we do have to go through the DEP's coastal construction control line permitting. I'm hesitant to put a time frame on that. I'm hesitant to put a time frame on that.
Soon.
Yes.
Soon. And just for clarification, the recreational trails program.
Yes.
For the walking path at the 7th Street Park, that the recreational grant that we've already applied for, that's playground equipment,
Yes.
benches, parks. This will be for specifically the walking path.
Yeah, well, now, we did submit the one for Under the Palms through FERDAP that included the walking path.
Yeah, and I think we talked about that before. There's some restrictions in there on that walking path, and we may not be able to use it for that. So that's why I just wanted to.
Through the FERDAP? Or-
Yeah. Yeah, there.
You may be right.
can't-
I honestly
Yeah,
don't
you
remember.
can't repair, there's some restrictions in there about
Okay.
that. So I just want to make sure that I understand. So we've got, if we get the grant, we've got money for other things, and then we'll apply for the walking path.
Okay.
And we were going to add that as an alternate option on the 24th Street paving
Mhm.
project to get an idea on estimate.
Yes, we can do that,
Because
yeah.
we did receive one estimate that was about $14,000, so when you said less than 50,
Yes.
that's a big difference, so.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
In the process of looking at paving 24th Street, have you been asked about looking at, so we could get an addendum or an alternate bid on the
entrance.
entrance to the parking property?
Yes, that'll be included as well.
Okay.
And, once, and once we get a little closer with either the 24th Street or with these grants, then we'll have to figure out which is going to be more important and how best to proceed. But all of those moving parts will be brought together.
Any questions for Preble Ridge? Yes, ma'am.
This section of the room is having difficulty hearing everybody speak, so could you amp up the mics or something?
We'll raise our decibel level with our voices,
Thank you.
okay?
Do you want me to start over?
Okay, thank you. Chief, who's doing fire department?
Your Honor, Mr. Baker was called to Homestead this week, so he could not make it this evening.
Okay. All right, number 3 is a scratch. Next, under scheduled appearance, is it Bonnie?
Yes, sir.
Is that the proper pronunciation? Mr. Garth Barney is here. Just be reminded that you, under the rules of you have 7 minutes to address the council.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Okay, my name is Garth Bonney. I'm a real estate attorney here in Bay County. I also practice in the area of land use regulation, and I've been retained by a group of affected property owners of the proposed Velda Village.
Excuse me for interrupting. Please try to, the mic won't pick up and this will be televised. So if you could, maybe hold the mic if that'll help.
I feel like a rock star.
I know. Sorry.
There are probably, I guess there are some misconceptions right now flying around whether this project is up for.
You got to speak into the mic. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You got to do that. Speaking to us, but speaking to the mic.
Okay, there are some perceptions around. Can everybody hear me now? That this project is ready for vote on the May, is it 5th agenda? And also, I have seen some publications in the media regarding this project. And I guess after a review of the record, there are some, primarily right now, I got 5 things that I want to present to the commission for you guys to consider on this. It's really not ready for a vote on the commission. I still see it as in the development stages, the concept stages, if you would. The minimum development standards, the ownership and control, the concept plan, the supportive report, the exemption from the standards, and also the increase in density in the units for the current zoning. So I just wanted to get those out. I only have a limited amount of time to speak to you. But primarily, we have an issue with the 5-acre requirement. Now I understand I reviewed, was it 369, 365? But that was passed when the Corys were initially trying to develop the property, and nothing was ever acted on it. Okay, so really, as a matter of law, it's invalid. All right, and it's just sitting out there. And I read it, and it's also it's got a lot of wiggle room in it. So I would recommend that you guys need to face that, because it's going to cause you problems. If not on this project, it could be in future ones. Okay, ownership and control. We have absolutely no proof of the hybrid developer owning or having some kind of document granting them control over the property. Okay, and the concept plan, of course, is non-existent right now. So this thing, and the suggestive reports such as your minimum design, your traffic studies, your water, sewage usages, none of that's been considered. And the Corey family, as I understand, they were going to have like 24 units and 16 condos. This one's got a proposal of 129 units, and and they're proposing to put it into 2.5 acres. So I don't know which way they're going to go. The only way to go is up. And I understand we also have some height restrictions in that area. So I believe that this is still in the concept stage, and in no way is ready for the commission to vote upon in the May hearing. So I just wanted to bring this to the attention of this honorable council, and I'm here for any questions if you have any.
Just citizens' comments, if there are any. Do you have any more? Are you?
Other than that, you don't have anything to go forward with this project. It's according to your own land use regs.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Next on the agenda are resolutions. We have, I believe there's 3. The first being 2015-2. This was discussed at our workshop, and the chair will entertain a motion to read resolution 2015-2 by title only.
I move to read Resolution 2015-2 by title only.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any opposition to reading? Mr. Clerk.
Resolution 2015-2, a resolution of the City of Mexico Beach authorizing the execution of the interlocal agreement for creation of the Bay County Transportation Planning Organization.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Ms. Blackburn?
Yes.
Mr. Mullen?
Yes.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Ms. Castro?
Yes.
Mr. Tindler?
Yes.
All right, next is resolution 2015-4. Chair will entertain a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Once again, please.
Resolution 2015-4, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, authorizing the city administrator to act as project manager for the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission Florida Boating Improvement Grant Program, and providing that the city administrator has the authority to apply for and administer the grant on behalf of the City of Mexico Beach.
Motion for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Ms. Blackburn?
Yes.
Mr. Mullen?
Yes.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Ms. Castro?
Yes.
Mr. Tindler?
Yes.
Thank you. And next and last is 2015-5. Have a motion to read by title only.
To read Resolution 2015-5 by title only.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any opposition to reading? Please do so.
Resolution 2015-5, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, to support construction of sidewalks on 15th Street with Transportation Alternatives funding and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion for adoption?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Ms. Blackburn?
Yes.
Mr. Mullen?
Yes.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Ms. Castro?
Yes.
Mr. Tindler?
Yes.
Okay, next on our agenda is ordinance 621. This is a first reading. It was talked about at our workshop. And do we have any, do we have a motion to read by title only?
I'll move that we read ordinance number 621 by title only.
Okay, we have a motion to read 621 by title only. Is there a second?
I'll second, but I'd like to give the people just a little overview of this one, since it's actually
Right,
an ordinance.
that would be appropriate. We have a second on the floor, so do so.
This one is putting a little teeth in our some of our regulations. We have ordinances about bottles on the beach. We have ordinances about paying for the boat ramp usage. We don't have any fine assigned to the ordinance. They fall under standard Florida misdemeanor law, which is like $500 fine for doing it. What we're trying to do is specify some fines for some of our little offenses that are not as onerous as a misdemeanor, smaller in amount and easier to apply. So that's an overview of what this is about.
And this one is specific for the boat ramp.
Yes, ma'am. This is strictly boat ramp. Okay, other comments?
From council or?
Yes, Council.
I just wanted to be clear on this. We're still giving warnings. We're putting the little thing on the on the windshield. Okay. So how many times do they get the thing on the windshield before you cite them? Don't know. That's just up to your discretion, I'm assuming.
It's the officer discretion, yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. And I have asked this before, are we still, are we going to get the harbor master involved? I know that it's difficult to, and I think it'll be even more difficult as the fishing season ramps up, to kind of monitor that situation. Is he able to help with that monitoring?
The intent was to wait till this was passed before we involved him.
But you are going to
Yes,
involve him?
ma'am.
Okay.
Code
And
enforcement as well.
And code enforcement as well?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right. Okay.
And then I know in the last meeting, you recommended a sign to be placed at the entrance. When are we going to be able to do that? Add that additional sign at the entrance, notifying people as they're coming in?
We can do it any time now. We just wanted to get this ordinance passed, which some of this language would need to be on there.
Okay.
Other comments? This is the first reading. I want to say that back, time gets away, there was a committee some time back that looked into the boat ramp thing, and I'm going back, I'm going to say 2 years, and one of their recommendations was that we not overburden our people within our police department with trying to police the boat ramp, and that it would be maybe just a good idea to put a box down there similar to what you would call an honor system, but not make something that is rigid in terms of policing. Our chief stated at the workshop that he is tasked with many duties. I would hate to see our city devote too much effort and energy into ensuring that somebody pays $10 at the boat ramp. I don't think any criminals live down there. So I think that sometimes when we police something, especially with the task at hand of the police department has of running the city, I'm leery of the, I guess maybe the importance of putting this type of ordinance in effect so we can spend our time checking tag numbers and seeing who's doing what at the boat ramp. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment, if I could, please.
Thought you did.
I have another comment. If I remember correctly, what you said at the last meeting is that you're finding it's the same people over and over. And if you had a fine in place, then perhaps that will motivate them to do the right thing. Because for the most part, people are doing the right thing. We just have folks that are doing it over and over and over.
It depends, because we've seen numerous, like I stated in the workshop, we've seen numerous violators that are repeat offenders, if you will. And we've also seen, first-time offenders. And we're trying to educate them through the warning system. And, a lot of people didn't even know that we had an ordinance in place for a boat ramp. And the signage, some of the things were brought up about the officers, or to the officers, that, we needed more signage, and the box needed to be, more clear as to where the deposit the money or what to do. Several times there's been an envelope thief taking all the envelopes out so no one could pay. And it will be a burden to do. We are doing it now, and I have talked to Mr. Mel, and as far as the aspect of having the code enforcement be more involved in the enforcement of all ordinances, which is a state law for that code enforcement to do. That is a requirement for that job.
So we have other options. And perhaps, Jack, if we could get the CDC to help us by putting that information on their website. I know Mel and I talked to Sandy and Kimberly several weeks back about that. If we could help our visitors know that that ordinance is out there, that would be, I think, helpful. Thank you.
All right, there's a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any other discussion? Any other comment? Call the roll, please.
Ms. Blackburn?
Yes.
Mr. Mullins?
Yes.
Mayor Kathy?
No.
Ms. Castro?
Yes.
Mr. Tindler?
Yes.
All right, that's the first reading. There'll be a second reading at next month's meeting. Next, under other business. Mr. Mayo?
Thank you, Your Honor. We did have two bidders on our City Hall project. One was Affordable Structures for $639,957, and American Custom Modular for $499,857. And I think when we opened the bids, I think I choked a little. And I think Adrian did when he saw them as well, and I suspect the rest of you did after that. But nonetheless, that doesn't mean all is lost, because luckily in our bid specs, it states that we can select one vendor with the best overall proposal and then negotiate directly with them to determine if the project can be value engineered. What that means, we take the price that, in this case, the lowest, and then start negotiating what changes could be made to the building, which could significantly reduce the cost. And here are the items that we would like to take a look at. We'd like for them to take a look at an alternative roof design, because the current roof design as spec'd required the bidders to have a temporary membrane roof installed in the factory. That way the building could be dried during transportation to the site. Then once it was on site, it would have to have roof trusses put on and the roof itself put on, and that significantly contributed to the high cost. In this case, the bidders could suggest an alternative roof design with cost savings in mind. Also, the alternative external siding, the current siding required that installation be on site. That way there would be no seams at all in the siding. It would go from ground to the roof. That would make it a nice finished look. Bidders could then suggest an alternative exterior surface that would provide the durability that we need. The HVAC system that was spec'd out was somewhat elaborate in that it had some coated stuff inside the unit, so it wouldn't have a problem with the coastal salt in the air. We could have them value engineer that to see what alternatives could be out there. When it comes to the foundation, of course, we still want the slab foundation, but when it comes to the steel directly underneath the home itself, we would prefer that remain steel, but I'm sure that there's some alternative that could be suggested by the bidder. The front door system that was spec'd out was somewhat elaborate. We could have them suggest an alternative as well. The front lobby had a ceiling that was a different design than the rest of the offices to make it look more pleasing to the eye when you walked into the lobby. If we could have them make the same ceiling configuration there as the offices, that would save significantly as well. Also on the flooring. The flooring that was spec'd out was a really nice floor that had a useful life of about 20 years, but that was about $7 per square foot. If we use ceramic tiles, that'd take it to $4 per square foot. Even carpeting would be $3 per square foot. So they could probably give us some alternatives for that as well. So based on those items alone, I think we could get it down to what I think is more in tune for what we had expected. And if you think about our city hall design, it would require 4 separate modules strapped together. Our police department was 2 modules strapped together. So because we're doubling that, the cost of the police department was about $170,000. Multiplied by 2, you get 340. So my guess was it was going to be between $350 and $380 in the bids, but it came out significantly higher. So if it would please the council, the staff can proceed with negotiating with the lowest bidder, if that's your desire.
No question. Do we have to have 3 bids by law?
No, we put it in plenty of publications and everything went out. We had 4 bidders who were interested, 2 of which backed out.
Are either of these the ones that did the police department?
Yes, sir. The highest one is the police department, Affordable Structures.
Okay, thank you.
Do you know why the other 2 backed out?
They did not share
They
that.
just didn't. Choking was, yeah, definitely I choked, okay, when I read the bids. I actually called the Affordable Structures, the one that did the police department, and told him I was shocked at his number. He definitely said the roof design contributed greatly to the increased cost. You know, there's 7 profiles, and that just definitely increases the cost. And the siding, he also said, you know, lots of upgrades. He put it as, you need to decide what you have to have and what you want to have, and decide, you know, how important it is to you. I can tell you that $640,000 is outrageous to me. So I struggle. You know, he pleaded with me on the phone and said, you know, there are definitely ways to get that number down, and didn't want us to throw away either bid, but negotiate on the finishes. So I think that's probably the way I'm leaning. You know, we also talked about putting it out to metal companies, metal buildings, that can do the same thing. They can put it on a slab, you can have a pitched roof, you can have siding, not metal, you know, they can cover up the metal if that's offensive to some people. You know, I'm thinking that, you know, is probably going to be significantly less than the modulars. So I think we have options. Definitely renegotiating with a company on the modular. I still, you know, I've always been pushing the metal building bid, but those are my thoughts.
Who would do the negotiations for the city?
That would have to be me and whomever else on the staff I would choose.
Are you experienced at negotiating building construction?
I am not a building constructor.
Shouldn't we have an expert?
If you want to pay for someone to do it, yes, sir.
Would we have to pay somebody? Maybe there's a construction person out there who'd be willing to donate some time.
We use Bo to help us with the RFP, correct? So he should, the items that you mentioned all seem to be items that Bo should be able to help with. It's, you know, it's not rocket science, and, you know, he inspects buildings, he should be able to help us with that.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna pass that on, let Mel and Bo look at that.
Why don't you talk to both companies if you're going to negotiate back and forth?
We certainly
Why would you
can.
pick one just because they're lower?
Well, I thought we'd pick one because the bid specs say one vendor with the best overall proposal.
Right.
That's what
But
it
you're
is
not
about.
you're not recommending we adopt and accept either one of these, are you?
Not at all.
You just say you want to go back and talk to them. So let's talk to both of them.
That can be done.
I like your list of cost-saving negotiation items that was, some I picked out in there, had originally mentioned, is going a little overboard on some of them. But we can get that down, certainly be doable.
I have just one comment, and only because it seems to be reoccurring. What does this table think that it should cost to build a city hall? I'm just curious, if what we're hearing
Not
has been too
$200
high,
square
what is
foot.
it what does this table think it should cost?
I thought that doubling the cost of the police department and then throwing in a little more for upgrades, just as Mel said a while ago, something like about $350 to $380. That was what I was expecting.
What was the lowest bid again for
$499.
$499?
Well, I agree with Mary. I mean, you talk about a 3,200 square foot building for $500,000. I don't know what I would expect it to be, but I think a whole lot less than that. But I'm not an expert in building houses. That's why it seems to me this is something you ought to have somebody who knows what they're doing. Like it was a legal question, to have Mr. Kamara there with you. Talking about building and structures and permits and all those kinds of things. There's people are here, I would assume, that understand this stuff perfectly.
This is a lot cheaper than the original estimate we got on the last city hall at 3,200 square feet. That was 600 plus.
Okay, other questions from the table? We have a direction we're going.
Can I add something?
Sure, please.
I don't know anything about construction. But back when I was trying to become educated and get some intelligent opinions about RFPs, I called Panama City Beach because they did more of this than we do. And they do it all the time. And I talked to one of the engineers out there and he said, well, you can do it both ways, the old put out the bid way or the RFP way. But if you're going to do it the RFP way, his comment to me was something along the lines that we have engineers out here and you have to watch the contractors. You can't, you have to watch what they're doing or you'll be charged too much. And of course, they've got staff out there and they've got departments, so they're able to do that and handle this kind of a situation, whereas we really are not staffed to do that, I don't think. But that's all I have to tell you. That's what the Panama City Beach.
I think you're absolutely right. That's what we all would do. If we were building our own house, we'd have a general contractor that watched everything and made sure that the quality of the materials that were in the bid are the ones that are delivered and installed property and all that. I think we need somebody like that.
But you're dealing with a modular.
Yeah, I relate this to the police department.
That's different than when a modular, you get all the specs up front. You know what they are. So,
And that went very smoothly, came in very acceptable. Chief likes his building.
okay. I saw a hand. Yes, sir.
Tom Bailey, 205 Carolina. The low bid is $30 a foot, cheaper than what Brian Cathy said he would build a stick-built building without degradation of the standard. That's my only comment. Thank you.
Okay. So we have a path that as council, we're going to go back and look at. You got some direction?
Yes, sir.
You satisfied? You know what we're doing?
I am.
Okay. Number 2, ordinance 620.
That's me. I'm going to breeze through this quickly. I saw Mary passed out her information tonight, and I will tell you that I've talked to many citizens about this, and I think that it requires both. I think it needs both enforcement and education. Most coastal cities in Florida have some type of leave no trace ordinance now. To the east of us, Gulf County has implemented a leave no trace ordinance. To the west of us, all of Bay County has a leave no trace ordinance, with the exception of Mexico Beach. I think that we should learn from our neighbors, and we should never defer common sense in protecting not only our employees who go down on the beach, especially our first responders after dark with all that stuff there, protecting our wildlife, allowing our employees to do their job the most efficient and effective possible, that we should defer to convenience. And the only reason that I've been given from anyone, and it's only a handful of people, why we shouldn't do this is because, well, it's convenient for us to leave our stuff there. Well, that's not a reason to put employees at risk. It's not a reason to have our beach look like it does during the summer. But I do agree with Mary that it requires education. We've allowed our visitors to do this, and it is a problem that's primarily during the visitor season. We don't see it throughout the year with the folks who live here full time, although there are a few people who enjoy leaving their stuff down there. So I'm going to quickly hit the highlights, and I'm going to let Mary talk about it, because I am going to need more time to look at. I think we all should take more time to look at what we were handed tonight. I want to be able to talk to the police chief as well as Public Works on how they feel about being able to implement the Keep It Neat campaign. One of the things we talk about picking up the abandoned tents under the Keep It Neat program. I can't find anything short of an ordinance that will allow us to do that. If we don't have an ordinance, I don't know how we can pick it up. There's a Florida statute, but it doesn't, if you read the statute, it refers to tangible items, not household. And even most ordinances that I find for leave no trace, they say that statute does not apply here. It's a different intent. It's at a high level between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. You can't leave stuff down there unattended. If you're there, fine, you can be there with your stuff, but you can't leave it unattended. That gives us a window of opportunity to make sure that our employees can get in, pick up the trash, rake the beach, do what we need to do. It also allows for a permit if you're having a wedding or a family reunion or a special event down there. You can get a free permit from City Hall to allow you to leave your stuff down there overnight. Digging holes in the beach, I added that at the request of the Turtle Patrol. They're very, very concerned about the holes on the beach. I didn't get really complicated like we've seen in Panama City Beach. You know, they've got size and depth. I just said, basically, if you dig it, you fill it before you leave, which I think is what Mary has on her proposal. Education, information. I have language in there that was very common across many ordinances that I've seen, but we would definitely work with our CDC to put language that they feel comfortable with in helping us educate and raise awareness. Informational signs and rentals. Again, I see something more like a little small rat card. I saw tonight on this proposal, refrigerator magnet. I mean, that would work. That's a little costly, but I do like the idea of maybe a small rat card that, you know, people can, if they're down here and they're on the beach, they can use it as a bookmark and they can see it and have it with them. Let's see, enforcement. I know that I've talked to other cities, I've talked to the chief, I've talked to Troy. Enforcement's pretty easy. You don't have to figure out who it belongs to. If it's there, you pick it up. It's as simple as that. You don't have to tag it. You don't have to come back in 24 hours and check the tags. If it's there, you pick it up. It's not a difficult ordinance to enforce. And penalties, the penalty is your stuff gets picked up. You don't have to worry about fines and tickets and all that other stuff. So that's Leave No Trace in a nutshell, and we can move on to.
Are you not seeking action? Are you not making a motion?
I am not, because I wanted to wait and get the additional details of what Mary had provided, because I think it has to go hand in hand. I think, I mean, we've seen that at the boat ramp. You know, you have to enforce it. People, sadly, you know, just don't do the right thing. But I'd like to hear comments if anyone's here who has a comment
Okay,
about it.
so
I'd like to
there's
hear it.
this is not an action item. I was under the understanding that that was going to be an action item. So are there any comments about leaving no trace? The ordinance that is presented is what we should be discussing. Is there any comment from the table? Anyone? Yes.
Table it for Bill.
My name is Mary Jo Walsh, and I live at 613 Fortner Avenue here in Mexico Beach. I had previously lived on the ocean and beachfront, and when a storm would come, it was sort of comical, but it really wasn't, because all the tents would just blow away and end up in the sand dunes, which we're trying to protect. Another thing about the change in the law from the leave no trace, I think it's too confusing. What Mary sent out is nice and it's convenient, but it doesn't, it seems more complicated if we have this 3-mile stretch of beach in the middle of Bay County and Gulf County, and they enforce and they have the leave no trace. And they've done a lot of the advertising for Bay County. It's on TV, leave no trace. It's on the national, television stations out of Panama City. So I think that this proposal of keep it neat is going to confuse the issue. And I don't believe that, I think it'll encourage people, say for example, we draw the line right there at 386 in the Lookout Lounge. What's to stop a business in a person's name, though, of setting up a tent for their patrons to go down and party on the beach? What's to stop a rental agency for their tourists that rent from them to put up a nice tent and call it theirs? I mean, I just think that there won't be any space for the people. If you have a tent here and a tent here and a tent there, and then tagging them, and I think that's more work than even driving through the boat ramp, as far as trying to keep up with everybody on the beach, especially over the holidays. So I strongly ask the council to leave it at, leave no trace. That's my
Thank
opinion.
you. Any other comments? Okay, remember, there's no action item here, so let's come to the podium and tell us who you are and give us your comment.
My name is Denise Chandler, and I live at 106A 37th Street. And I just want the council to know that I am definitely in favor of leave no trace.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Gail Putnell, 104 South 27th Street, Mexico Beach. I'm hopeful that you will take responsibility as council members. You represent us. There is no time, in my opinion, for us to just watch our neighboring communities and wait and see and then get the kinks out. Last week I picked up diapers, I picked up bottles, I picked up plastic, I picked up toys, I picked up dog mess. I didn't have to pick up glass because the beer bottles were left very neatly on the beach, but they still left them on the beach. Yes, once you decide what you're going to do, it'll be inconvenient for all of us, and I understand that. As a grandmother, I drag things down there and I drag it back, and it'll be inconvenient for all of us. However, gentle reminders usually don't work. Make a strong plan for all of us to follow, in my opinion. Be kind, but be direct in your expectations for us to take care of our beach, and then cite those of us who disobey. The 35-mile-per-hour that we have in our town is not a suggestion. The stop sign's not a suggestion, and neither should the Florida statutes and ordinance just be a suggestion for us to maybe do. Call it whatever you want to, but we need to leave it like we found it. There's no reason for me to stand up here and tell you how beautiful it is and how wonderful it is. We all know that. But our parents looked after it for us, and it's important, in my opinion, for us to look after it for our children and our grandchildren. Thank you very much.
Other comments?
I'm Mildred Rycroft. Most of you people know me. If you don't, you will hear from me. I've lived here 50 years. Been here through every mayor, and I want to know why. I keep hearing, we're going to Panama City Beach to find out what to do on our beach. That is the reason we made this the city of Mexico Beach, to make our own laws. We don't need Panama City Beach. If you've been watching Fox News, you see the reason we've tried to keep it a family beach. We don't need the harassment that's going on in Panama City Beach. We don't need their advice on how to live our life here. It's a retirement center. Most of the people are elderly. The only time we have a whole lot of children is in the summertime when mom and dad is coming down and grandma's got the kids. So I just want to know why it's so important that y'all run to Panama City Beach to find out what we do in our own little town that we made the city of Mexico Beach. I know we're Bay County, but we still maintain our own laws.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Just your comments, sir? Saw another hand. Yes, ma'am.
Shirley Miller, 1136 Street. I've been here for about 20 years. I've picked up diapers and I've picked up trash and I've found the beer bottles piled in a pile, not the glass like she said. I am against more government regulation, but I assume we will end up having this. And my question is this to the council members. This last few weekends, and even during the week, there were many, many tents on the beach. Some the tops had blown off, some they hadn't, etc., etc., etc. When we pick this up, what are we going to do with it? I mean, I go down there and I pick up leftover toy shovels. I have a huge collection of children's toys I've picked up, and my nieces and nephews love them. But what are we going to do? Are we going to auction off what we get? Are we going to trash it? What is the end result? And there will be a lot that we'll be collecting, and I know we won't be, bidding for dirty diapers, but the other things, there's quite a bit of nice things left, not just overnight, but all week long with nobody using it, waiting for them to come back next weekend. Like I said, again, I am against more government regulation. I'm against the having to pay for things in Mexico Beach. But please, what are we going to do? How are we going to work this? It is going to be more complicated than it sounds. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you. Hi, I'm Richard Fitch. I live at 1004 15th Street. And on behalf of my wife and myself, I just wanted to say that we would support a leave no trace ordinance as opposed to anything else at this point. I realize that it's a tough enforcement job, and I don't think that's an excuse for not placing one. It's hard to enforce people from stopping and sticking their cigarettes in the sand, but we still kind of discourage that with an ordinance. It's hard to discourage people from tossing their diapers in the dunes, but we have an ordinance that prevents against that, and people are still going to get away with it. But if there's a no littering sign, and there's a no glass sign, and there's a no dog sign, and we can't enforce those 100% of the time, I'd also like to see us have leave no trace sign with an ordinance that has some teeth in it, and once in a while it will be enforced. And eventually people will get the message that, like every other beach in the state, you can't leave your crap in your refugee city on our beaches, and it'll look a lot nicer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, moving on. Number 3. Excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry. I still don't see a hand. Oh, I'm sorry. Come on.
Mary Lee Rollerson, and I live at 416 Texas Drive. And I'd just like to say that my husband and I both would support a leave no trace ordinance. One that's simple, clear cut, that people can understand. If people can take it down there in the morning, they can take it home tonight. It should be simple.
Last call, come on.
My name is Marlene Forget, and I'm at 227 Kim Cove Road. On behalf of my husband and myself, I'd like to say that we definitely support the Leave No Trace ordinance for Mexico Beach. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, number 3. Ms. Blackburn.
Okay. All right, so my proposal is this, keep it neat, and you have some in your packet if you got a packet, and then I had some extras out there. As I've said every time that I've talked about this, I am in favor of a Leave No Trace.